Hey everybody, I just got through finishing Agatha all along. Just got off from watching the last two episodes. So I wanted to make sure I could put this out there tonight. Because I got my notes here about all the stuff for each of the episodes, my initial thoughts, the, you know, things that I like, things I dislike, because, I was a little skeptical at first about this show. And reason being that since it's like a show about witches, after the whole situation with Disney's Star Wars The Acolyte, I was like trepidatious. I was like, okay, because that show was hot garbage. I made my, at least quite a few videos giving my thoughts about that show because that was just hot trash. I could not believe it. So now it's like, I don't know. This year seems like the year of witches or something. I'm not sure because we got Wicked, Broadway musical turned movie coming out next month. Now we got Agatha all along. So it's like it's just drowning in things that's about witches right now. So I was a little like skeptical about this. Now, some of my skepticism was warranted. Others, I was quite surprised. So I'm going to try to go through as much as I can from certain things that kind of stood out for me on each episode. But the show stars Catherine Hahn, who reprises her role as Agatha Harkness, who was the main villain in WandaVision years ago. Now, kind of wish that Kevin Feige and everybody else above him had their ducks all in a row, because after that successful theme song of Agatha All Along, which, by the way, they ended up calling the show after going through a handful of titles. Like I said, they didn't have all their ducks in a row. They didn't strike while the iron is hot and make sure this was like the second or not like maybe like a second, but like at least third or fourth thing coming out right as they wrapping up the whole situation with WandaVision. And definitely would have helped if it at least came after Doctor Strange 2, which was, Scarlet Witch centered. Because that movie kind of picks up where WandaVision left off. And after Doctor Strange left off, this can pick right back up. So that way, things can be, decently interwoven, at least some degree. It wasn't. And it's like, this came out several years. Like WandaVision came out in 2020, like at least 4 years, going on 5. That this, they finally, came up with a show. Which, by the way, I'm not. I won't say not, but I will say I'm usually not too keen on making these backdoor pilot spin-off shows based on certain characters that might be slightly popular in the main story that you're talking about, somebody that we actually care about. I don't think like Agatha Harkness, out of all those characters that we built up through the Infinity Saga that deserve a show or a movie about them, that isn't about like the main Avengers cast from the first Avengers film. You could have done, a myriad of stories with any one of them that we already had some kind of relationship with. Making a show about Agatha Harkness seems like she's a supporting character. I made my statement many times with many people that there are some people that needs just to be relegated to just supporting or side characters. Now, Agatha Harkness should be just maybe like a step above Darcy, and it was good goddamn. There's no good goddamn way that we're gonna watch a show about Darcy. Like, I love Kat Dennings, but it's just like not everybody needs a show about them or a movie about them. But Agatha is still stuck. The show starts off pretty solid. It kind of helps that um, that my expectations was kind of low because we was coming right off of the Acolyte situation. So I met my wits end with Disney related content. Now, depending on how they showcase some type of trailer to a new project, how well they do and who's behind it, and if it got a solid premise, all depends if I can at least give it a shot. They're introducing the character of Wiccan in this, which is Wanda and Vision's child of one of two of twin boys, which they pretty much kind of built pretty solidly in WandaVision and Doctor Strange 2. Which still, by the way, nobody seems to care about where that new white Vision is. It's kind of weird, but it's supposed to, I guess, they're making a Vision Quest show about Vision, and the main antagonist of that show will be Ultron, bringing James Spader back, which I'm a little bit excited for about that. See, that's like a perfect example of if you got a solid premise and with some, well-known actors and things of that sort, you took the time to, get a solid story component, no extra with the, woke stuff. I'm sorry, I can't even think of a proper name for it beyond that. But you can infer what I'm describing. None of that excessive stuff. Just a, plain and simple story with characters built from the ground up with layers and compelling stories and goals and motivations and quirks that we can find endearing about them, or villains that we love to hate kind of situation. You got all that situated and took your time with it, so when you by the time you put it out, we can actually absorb it, and you can easily quiet the haters out there and the naysayers if you actually put out a good product that you actually pour your blood, sweat, and tears to, and not half-assed with it. So, like I said, it started off pretty solid with, because she's still stuck in the mindscape that Scarlet Witch put Agatha in, where she's living out a TV show fantasy, or at least police procedural in this case. So, yeah, which eventually, this is kind of a good setup, whereas we meet Aubrey Plaza, whose identity isn't much of a secret. Kind of by episode 3 and 4, somewhere either 3 or 4, they kind of isn't much of a secret of who she really is. It's kind of okay, you didn't really did your best to make it a surprise with the not so subtle hints. And the way they have Ari Plaza not playing that coy at all about it either. It could have just relegated her to be just another witch. Anyway, thanks to her and Wiccan, who they called Teen for a while because of some kind of spell that was put on him by another witch. But then you get a unnecessary nudity, and that's put in, because after she's brought out the incantation, she's completely butt ass naked for no apparent reason. Why is there's no reason for that. There's honestly no reason for that besides somebody's kink. They want to see naked Catherine Hahn, and you got in the scene while she's walking outside towards one of her neighbors asking about what happened, and then there's a family next door with their daughter outside, just staring, and it's you think that I'm assuming they think maybe the scene was funny, but it's it didn't come across as funny at all. It's just oh my god, she did a naughty thing. Ooh, it's none of that. It's it didn't give me that feeling. It's like it just seems completely unnecessary. It didn't serve anything. It's like a lame tip of humor at best. Where it could have just been like a simple, she's in her PJs and she's walking outside, then asking questions. Would you really take anything away for that, from the scene? And because you could just have Catherine Hahn say something. She is funny. You can have Catherine Hahn say something snide and funny in this scene rather than just do this kind of crass thing, honestly. And then I'm covering like the notes I have for like chapters 1 and 2, because the premiere had first 2 episodes and then the season end has the last 2 episodes. I think a lot of people mentioned this already, but I had this exact thought, honestly. They kind of took the words out of my mouth. This show, I don't think this is made for everybody that can really enjoy. I mean, you could, but it seems like this show is just made for wine moms. There's literally an episode where they, a coven of witches come together to drink wine together. It's just like, housewives of Agatha all along. It's just like, I don't even know how many wine moms out there are interested in Marvel projects anyway. Like, who is this? Like, it's not made for like a family. It's we introduce to the people who's going to be in Agatha's coven, who she needs help to regain her power because Scarlet Witch took all that away. We meet Aubrey Plaza, who's this other witch who has some kind of grudge and not so subtle love interest, where she's literally licking her cut, Aubrey Plaza's licking her cut hand after her and Agatha fight briefly. But it's just kind of like, okay, what? Why? This is another thing, like the nudity. It's like, okay, what? Why? What and why? It's just some kind of glorified thing just to get people hot and heavy for some inexplicable reason. It's cool that you have, these two have some kind of, history with each other. That's fine. But you're trying to borderline BDSM it at this point. And it's like, you couldn't just let it be a normal relationship between two women. You got to go the extra mile with it by having her lick her wound off her hand overly sexually. Like I said, it's just kind of like overdoing it a bit, in my opinion. But honestly, criticism aside, the actors involved are really good. Okay, credit where credit is due. Because they're all great actors, especially Catherine Hahn and Aubrey Plaza. They're just well-known, good actors. Especially because they both, were part of Parks and Rec and stuff like that. That's where I know Aubrey Plaza the most from. Can you believe she just recently turned 40? I couldn't really believe it. Like, wow, she's 40? Really? She took great care of herself. Even though, personally wise, something about Aubrey Plaza is like, you look at her eyes, she's always trying to look like she's want to eat your soul. She's like, you look at her and she stares dead in the camera, like she's, like she gonna leap out and snatch your soul from your eyes or something. I don't know. She gives off creepy to me, not in a bad way, but it's like, I don't want to get caught in a dark alley with Aubrey Plaza because she seems like she might have strangled a cat in her day or something. I don't know. She seems, legit creepy to me. It's like it's something about her that creeps me out. She like not scares me, but it's like something about her. I don't know sure what it is. My spider sense is tingling about her, not in like a bad way, but it's like she can stab you. Like she stabbed person before. Like that's what she kind of gives off. She, like not spreading any kind of rumors, but that's just how I'm feeling. Like when my mind thinks of her, all it is saying to me is like, yeah, she probably stabbed somebody before and got away with it. And she knew she got away with it. And she got that look like, I got away with murder. Don't push me kind of attitude. But she is a legit good actor besides all that. Oh yeah, Wiccan a little bit of an exaggerated gay character. Yeah, I mean, there's moments, at least at the beginning, and it's like, it kind of like, because the guy who plays, Wiccan, like Joel Locke, something Locke, he's actually solid as an actor, but I really don't care for Hollywood in general. It's not even just with Disney, but Hollywood in general. Sometimes they do these overly exaggerated caricatures of what they think gay people behave like. And it's like, Wiccan, yes, he's gay in the comics. He's well known, one of the most well-known gay characters in comic book history. And in the comics, he's just a normal kid and just happens to have a boyfriend. It isn't just overly exaggerated, caricature of what they think gay people behave like every day. Right down to like, painting his nails, and it's like, it's at the beginning. It doesn't carry on all the way through, but it's just moments where it's like, certain lines of dialogue, like there's a moment where, kind of jumping the gun a bit, but it's a good example where they got him dressed up as Maleficent, and like Catherine Hahn, Agatha makes a mention like, oh, it looks, like, of course you would dress like that or something or other, and he says like, well, if the cheekbones fit, is, or they do other lines too that seems like completely unnecessary. Like, yes, we know you're catering to like a particular community, but it's like, come on now, can you like not, and just let it let it be. But it's like you got Catherine, I keep calling her Catherine Hahn, it was Agatha. Agatha may get some Wiccan asked her a question, and it wasn't to his liking, and she made a comment which some people find it funny. I kind of rolled my eyes, like it's like one of those terrible puns at best, but completely unnecessary again. Where it's like, if you want a straight answer, ask a straight person. I was like, it's like, I guess it's supposed to be funny. But this seems like more come across at best a bad pun. And it's like, did you really need to say that? But it's just like certain cringy dialogues creep its way in. And don't get me started about like the Down the Richest Road. They trying to, it's manufactured of a repeat of the Agatha All Along theme song, which was trending when it came out in WandaVision, which seems more organic than, at least from my knowledge, it seems a lot more organic, similar to how like that Let It Go song, where it's like, somebody actually put some time into this, and you can just tell. There's certain things you can just tell that happens organically. Kind of like, good example, where the Barbenheimer situation, that was an organic thing that happened. Even though most people probably didn't see both Oppenheimer and Barbie, or they chose to see one or the other, you cannot deny that the marketing was kind of like lightning in a bottle. That no one can deny that was like an organic chemistry that happened. That really, the marketing was top notch for the movie industry. And then, can you imagine then, 2 years or a year after that situation, they start any movie that might be coming out on the same weekend, they trying to force that camaraderie together. You'll be able to tell off the bat. That's how I feel in this situation when it comes to these songs. You can tell that the Witch's Road, I argue, is still kind of catchy. I mean, like whoever like behind the musical scores, this musical score is pretty rock solid, but it still doesn't negate the fact that how manufactured it feels to me, where they trying to repeat the Agatha all along, trying to get this song trending as quickly as possible. And it's like, God, that it just feels so hollow. Can you believe how rare it is to get some organic thing happening and trending without it seeming like Hollywood is trying to just get more of your money, or Disney more specifically is trying to gain more money out of your sympathies or your jingling keys in your face kind of situation. And there's moments it kind of feels like a discount Hocus Pocus. I marked that down. It's like, yeah, it does seem like a discount Hocus Pocus. More so because of the certain atmosphere to it. And when they start gathering up these witches, because Ari Plaza, who goes by the name Rio, by the way, because they took forever to because people didn't catch on about what's her name. They kind of took a hot while before they kind of revealed that. Oh, speaking of reveals, you know how behind the scenes, we found out that Grogu toys, the studio wanted to put that out immediately, but Jon Favreau wanted them to hold on that until after the pilot episode of the season 1 of The Mandalorian, because he did not want this character spoiled for everybody because the toys get put out. That's what I'm talking about, like a very organic decision, so that way it helps with the popularity of this new Star Wars character that everybody by and large loves. If that would have happened the other way around, it would feel so gimmicky, and I don't think Grogu would have gotten like the love and attention that he's been getting. That's how I feel like what happened here, where they kind of spoiled that Rio is actually Marvel's death. Spoiler alert. But I do enjoy the design of what they have for her, because every once in a while, just like in the comics, she appears normal in one moment, then in the next panel, she has the skull face, which they did very well. In my opinion, is handled very well. Like, wow, you did the design pretty solidly. Give you that. Brownie points on that. But I wrote that down too. By the end of the season, they didn't mention nothing about either Thanos, or I doubt they was going to mention Deadpool, but Death, well, mess around with Deadpool a lot more than Agatha, I'll tell you that much. But, she, in the comics, has a tie and some level of relationship with Thanos. And I kind of expected, at least by the end of the season, or getting towards it, she would have mentioned something about alien snapping all life, half of life in the universe. You could have make at least a couple of sentences talking about that. Like, man, either that was a hell of a time, or like in the comics, does not impress her, and she could have made some mentions like, yeah, that Titan, thought he could, impress me by snapping all half a life, and it's whatever. Just like in the comics, doesn't impress her. She seemed very blasé about it. And I kind of wish they kind of make some kind of mention in that, because you now finally introduce Death in the Marvel Universe, and you don't have her make any mention to Thanos. At least a couple of sentences. Doesn't need no soliloquy or some long monologue, but you gotta bring that in, because it seems kind of like like, like something's missing from that, especially if you're like a, fan of Marvel comics, and, one of the most important comic events in history, which is the Thanos quest and crap. I keep wanting to call it the Infinity War, but you know what I mean. Like, where Thanos in the comics gathered the stones to wipe out half of all life to try to impress death because he's so in love with it. And the fact they could have finally brought it full circle when they teased the first Avengers film and they had that alien who used to be the underling of Thanos saying, like, before they kind of casted Josh Brolin, or they was at least announced Josh Brolin was going to be Thanos, where it's like they will court death. And he turns around and make a smirk. And it kind of like would have been awesome, kind of made that full circle, whereas somebody make that same line. Thought that would be kind of cool. I would at least put that in the script or something. All right. So Agatha and Wiccan, who wants to find his brother, who we see like a nice little flashback in a particular episode where it explains how Wiccan is back, where he's supposed to have been wiped away after wanting to defuse her spell, but Billy, or at least whoever the kid was before Billy took over the body, because he got latent magical abilities, so it kind of like allowed him to possess his body when the previous owner of the body died in a car accident, while him and his family was trying to make their escape because of the Wanda spell and being diffused and causing all this kind of commotion, which kind of ducktails perfectly with what happened at the end of WandaVision. But then it kind of feels forced when it's like, oh, one of the cops on the scene was who's going to be part of the coven that they meet. I didn't gather all their names. One second here. Okay, yeah, Joe Locke as Wiccan, Sashir Zamata as Jennifer Kale, Ali An as Alice Wu Gulliver, who was like the police officer at that time, Patty Lapone as Lilia Calderu, Deborah Jo Root as Mrs. Hart, and God, and she's from That 70s Show, in case you don't know. But she seemed like a freaking waste. Why even incorporate her at all? Because she's one of the best actors, among the cast. Well, kind of all over the place. But Agatha needs to gather a coven that she can hopefully get them to try to attack her, so she'll be able to absorb their power to recharge, essentially. But they need particular witches, like one for Earth, a healer, not healer, it's like a protector, a potion, and a seer, and then one for like like a green witch for the Earth or whatnot. And of course, Green Witch would have been real, but had to get her later. But Agatha didn't want to deal with her or other people finding out what's up. So she gets her neighbor involved, which ultimately ends up getting her killed. And it's like, why? It seems completely unnecessary and a waste of this actress's time, honestly. And it's like, you're going to need a green witch eventually while you travel on this road, because each of the there's trials to the witches roll, which they have to travel in order to each of them get in a specific uh, goal if they manage to make it to the end. And of course, all but three do. Only three do at the end. Uh, so it's like, okay, you kind of wasted that character and actress for no, you get involved in a character that doesn't need to be involved in. This is so dumb. Uh, but they end up finding the richest road while there's these like robed figure women chasing them, and uh, until last week, where they end up dying anyway, we don't know who were they. Who sent them? What was their purpose? They seem completely pointless of characters. They just want to be creepy and crawl around like the ring girl all over the place. And it's like, what did they serve? Okay? Like, it's just like, it's like when you have like some group of minions, coming at you, you would think you will find out that somebody had to send them. Did Death send them? Or who? Like, clearly not. It just seems so. You talk about a waste. That seemed like a waste because they seem like coolly designed, and like they could possibly pose a threat, which it could have been awesome to see these gaggle of witches for this new coven try to take on these little minions and show off their capabilities. But that seems like that's out of the question because like, okay, none of that happens. That was honestly a waste. That don't know why that was put there if they wasn't gonna really use them. The pacing of the show so far, at least in the first couple of episodes, probably in season 2, was needed a little work. The atmosphere of this, I do kind of like it. Like when the credits roll, you see these like old clippings and books and stuff like that, and then you of like witches in like colonial history, spliced together with witches in pop culture throughout history. That how it permeated the zeitgeist over the years, like Bewitched, Nancy Downs from The Craft, and like the Wicked Witch of the West. Like you got like a lot of them, which I thought was pretty cool. It was like a homage of witches of past that some liked, some disliked, but they made some kind of stamp in our cultural history throughout the years. So it's kind of like a nice little like paying respects to like how we got this far when it comes to like witches and popularity. Oh yeah, I made a note about the whole. It was around the time when the episode 1 and 2 was about the premiere, and the actor was on a press junket, and I think it was completely. Matter of fact, I don't even blame the actors on this, but this particular interviewer baiting these actors, because clearly he's a gay man, but he baiting them into like, I heard there's like gonna be something gay explosion, and it's like, oh yeah, totally gay, and they feeding into it, and it's like nobody was to just like made like a normal retort and just say like, yeah, we're gonna have like a nice representation of like a lot of people, like, but everybody's gonna enjoy this, your mom, your dad, your grandfather. It's like, all y'all can come and enjoy this. It's like, but they want to lean in. Oh yeah, it's gonna be totally gay. It's like, yeah, it's gonna be like farting rainbows, and it's like, can you just have like just a normal conversation? Sure, you're gonna have a couple of gay characters in this. That's fine, but you don't need to put a hat on a hat about it. Just look, that's what I'm saying. Like, just can't these just be? You gotta like overly do it a bit. It's kind of like you have like like a black cast of people, but then you got to have them overdo it, just trying to prove how black they are, or it's like a cast of mostly dudes, and they gotta overdo it, like trying to make it like how manly they are. Like, yeah, so so bro about it. Like, touch my muscles. Yeah, look, chest bump me, bro. It's like we're gonna be so man explosion about this. It's like, you see how that sounds? You can't just let it just be and take it for what it is. You gotta like overdo it. That's why like I really don't care for those kind of things on these press junkets. You can't just bait these actors into doing this because it's going to cause some kind of like, because that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to cause some kind of media blitz between like, people on the internet, making YouTube videos talk about like, oh man, they say this and cause this kind of uproar that doesn't need to be. They could just like, yeah, I saw them on the press junket. They seem pretty cool. I wasn't looking forward to it at first, but I might be interested because of what our replies I said, or how she carried herself, or blah 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 blah. But you gotta like do too much, and the actors know exactly what's happening. A lot of them been on these junkets before, and they've been down this road before, no pun intended, and they just like go all in about it, and it's like, okay, dial it back. It's cool, you got a couple of gay characters involved. We kind of expected it because you're involving Wiccan, who's a well-known gay character in comics, so it's fine. It's like you didn't have to do that with certain other characters like John Constantine when his TV show was premiering. There wasn't no like asking him like, I heard there's gonna be some gay explosion. It's like, no, just he gonna have some cool like situations, and they're dealing with supernatural in his own quirky. I want to say quirky. That's more like kind of like balls to the wall way. But I gotta say, I still like this better than Acolyte by leaps and bounds. Honestly, like I said, I love the atmosphere because it's around Halloween time. It kind of really. They played it smart by releasing this in the month of October, just to fit it all in. Smart decision. And I do love the atmosphere. It's like really gets me like, because I love the Halloween season. Really gets me in the mood into what we're gonna be dealing with. Okay, so they end up going to these trials, each one that will serve a particular character's capabilities in order to get out of the situation. We learned that the protector, which Alice, who seems to have like a history where because her mom used to be a pop singer who did like a song, like a revision of the Witch's Rose song, and became so popular that it's like a continuous chant that supposed to. She played a long game to protect her daughter from this fiery demon that came after the mom, and the daughter spent her whole life thinking her mom was crazy and died because she probably fired her own hotel or something like that. But now they kind of figured out that she was protecting her all along, and they did another rendition to reveal that spirit and finally crush it and defeat it. Which is like a fine thing. It's fine. And of course, then you got Patty LuPone, who last week is getting a lot of accolades from her performance, which was rock solid. As Lilia, who was the one who put the spell on Wiccan, or who wasn't Wiccan yet. It was like a different kid before the car accident, who was celebrating his bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah, whichever one is supposed to be for boys, and they had like a built-in fortune teller thing that they hired her for, and convinced, realized that she saw his future, that is gonna be his pathway is gonna be split, so. She let her like, hey, please enjoy this time that you have, and blah blah blah, very cryptic. And then she wrote like a rune, put in his jacket that, to prevent him from revealing, well, at least Billy, eventually to reveal his name too soon, before it's allotted time, kind of thing. But eventually they figure out as Billy and everything like that, and he's the son of the Scarlet Witch. Which, by the way, when you see his costume, pretty solid. I really like it, and the display of his powers are pretty cool. I really like that. Jennifer, as the Poisonous Witch, you see a little bit of her backstory, that she was forced to give up her powers, but eventually you find out it was like a machinations unknowingly by Agatha Harkness, but eventually got her powers back. She's her Wiccan and Agatha's technically Wiccan and Jennifer is the only two technically survivors. Spoiler alert: Agatha ends up as a ghost when trying to fight death. When death, wants Billy to relinquish everything to her, so she can finally take him because he's not supposed to be alive, I guess, or the whole situation with him possessing the body of the kid that technically died in the car accident, but he's kind of sharing the body. It's not really clear, but she basically just want to come collect, but she kind of felt cheated out of that. And she's kind of manipulating things behind the scenes, playing a long game with everybody. Don't know why these supposed witches who've been around for a long time doesn't pick up on anything, but I guess because death is like a uber powerful entity in of itself. But it just seems like, I don't know, you witches, especially Cauldron Cauldrew should have get some kind of sense to her or something. But I thought it was weird. Oh, the black neighbor of Agatha, when she walked up to him, butt ass naked, he made some comments, and this is what I'm talking about. When people mention about like, insert an agenda and wokeness and stuff like that, this is the kind of thing they're talking about. People, it's like he sees her finally snapping out of her delusion and everything like that, and he make a mention like, you feel different, like powerful, and you got your agency, and it's like, you knew exactly what you was doing when you wrote that into the dialogue. You didn't need that. You didn't need to do that. You could just leave it be as like, you seem different, and that's it. You didn't have to throw in like words like powerful and agency, especially agency. Like, come on, people. I was like, that was not needed. You're overplaying it a bit, okay? Don't you think? Can you reel it back? Like, just because we're dealing with like mostly female cast, you don't need to like overdo it a bit. And like, God, it's like that Lucasfilm forces females creeping into the Marvel stuff. It's like, you just leave it be. Okay. Oh yeah, he's starting like the witches rolling with these, trials, which they are glorified escape rooms. That's what it is. They just glorified escape rooms, which at first seems, it's kind of fun, but then it's like you couldn't do something different. They all have to be pretty much escape rooms. You could just like, test their metal, not just with the mind, but with the spirit, or, with skill to actually, use some actual spell combat. But I guess, I hate to say it. It was just like, maybe it's just like you're writing about women and mostly women writers. It's like mostly, not all, but it just seems like, oh, they want to solve it with the least amount of combat possible. And it's like, I don't know, you're dealing with like a trial here. Even if it's something like Indiana Jones in The Last Crusade, you gotta, at least mix it up a bit. Not all of them needs to be escape rooms. Show off like how they are skillful and like, at least in their tradecraft by like combating like they defeat a demonic fiery demon by song. And it's like, okay, they could at least fight another force or entity via combat, or at least since you're a coven, combine your powers to like fight off, showing off each of your powers to like, I don't know, with some level of labor involved. It's not like you can't have something like that. Defeating that fire demon through song. It's not like you can't have that, but like I said, you kind of mix it up. Not everything needs to be an escape room. You can do something else. But I thought it was cool to get a glimpse of each of the characters' little history and backstory, which is, gives them a little bit of depth. Which, like I said, this is like a step up from Acolyte, because I don't know any of those characters' motivations at all. They're such hollow characters. I'm sorry. Acolyte has become the barometer of trash projects, where it's like, okay, you keep away from this level, this bottom tier level, then we can try to work with something, from there. I did balance well with horror and comedy in this, like I said, like Marvel's kind of trying to turn some things around. So I think we're getting a taste of it, at least a little bit. But there's some stuff that's still creeping in from the old guard. We learned a little bit about Agatha's child, where it's like a rumor in this, at least in episode 3, is kind of like a rumor that, Agatha traded her baby son for the Darkhold from Mephisto, but that's more of a rumor. But they finally kind of really lean into the whole Mephisto thing, even though we have yet to see this guy. And as many times you keep bringing this character up, you got to make some kind of casting announcement, or maybe they might be leaving it a surprise. You don't know. Hopefully they don't drop the ball on this, because Mephisto is one of the most, like Death and like Thanos, is one of the most powerful entities that the Marvel heroes have to deal with. So you can't mess that up. Oh, we get in chapter 4, or episode 4, I should say, where Wicked ends up getting hurt after, the him getting like a mortally wounded cut in the previous episode. You see like a moment where Agatha, which the others should have peeped at a bit, she looks over at Aubrey Plaza, but you can't obviously call her Death yet. It's like begging her, like, don't take him. Just don't take him yet. Leave him alone. And it's like, okay, nobody saw that? Really? Nobody heard that? Y'all kind of, I know it's like a stressful kind of situation, but you still got ears. That's what I'm saying. They overplaying that hand. It's like, you're not making it subtle, okay? It would have been better if you just leave it as a surprise until like right now. Or in the last episode it's still kind of a surprise, but it's kind of like still spoiled a bit. Whereas like, if they didn't poke at it, until last week, where by the end we get that kind of surprise of that awesome design of Aubrey Plaza's death, that would have blown a lot of people's minds. But you kind of took a little bit of the fun out of it, because you keep over hinting. That's my only issue. It's not the fact that, okay, Aubrey Plaza is deaf. Okay, that seems like a solid casting choice. But stop poking it and let us, wonder, or at least be surprised. Like with Deadpool and Wolverine, we did not expect like Johnny Storm, Human Torch. That was a nice surprise. Or even Black Panther 2, I was definitely caught by surprise. I didn't think they brought, at least for a little bit, Killmonger with Michael B. Jordan, killing it as usual. And it's like they kept that as such a secret. It's like, there was no leaks or anything like that. They did a great job. And it's like they keep, every once in a while, they keep overdoing it a bit and just like leave things in surprise. It will only is only a net positive for you. Getting to episode 5, where like now it's like a child once again with the Ouija board and was a commune with the spirits, and it's like, what's your name? And it spells out death. And you see like Aubrey Plaza is laughing, cackling, like, it's like, can you make it more obvious? Stop it. But there is a spirit in there which ends up possessing Agatha, and turns out to be Agatha's long dead mom, who says like, she hated her and kind of wish she wasn't born, things like that. But then you see like, Rio saying like, you can't have her. And then of course Jennifer points out, a few seconds ago you was ready to cut her throat. And it's like, yeah, that's another thing. The kind of back and forth with, it's supposed to be some kind of arc here. If you keep going back and forth with characters' positions on something, then it's like you getting your viewers whiplash. It's kind of like you see like Spider-Man, learns a lesson about great power comes great responsibility after witnessing his uncle's death in the first movie. And then in the second movie, he, halfway through, like ignores another robbery and then have to learn that same lesson all over again. It's like, don't do that. That's how it feels that it's operating like. Agatha doing the exact same thing, where she's like, after some situation happened, like the death of a couple of the witches here, because Alice ends up dying at the end of this episode while doing her job as the protector, which protects them, but at the cost of her life, because causing Agatha to suck in her power to essentially recharge, in a sense, causing her death. Crap, I lost my train of thought on this. But what was it? Oh, it's just like, she seems like, like she's sorry about it, but then go back to her shtick like she was at the beginning of the show, or way back in WandaVision, is like, nonchalantly evil about it. Oh yeah, too bad. But then the next minute it's like, you remind me of my son. And it's like he was like you didn't get this with Loki. As a matter of fact, Agatha, yeah, she had like, in the comics she has her like, wicked moments and stuff like that. But there was some kind of like, same thing with Loki. You're progressing this character to be like, at the most, an anti-hero, whereas she sees some level of morality, and like you see with Loki in the Loki TV series, there's an ultimate big bad that's more evil, and he learns, his error of his ways through his trial and tribulations, and meeting these supporting casts along the way that he grows to care about, and he stops thinking about himself and the overall, good for all. Why couldn't you not do something like that with Agatha, where if you want us to buy her redemption arc, you gotta give us like a real big bad, which technically you do, but not really. But it's just like you keep going back and forth with her motivations and personality. And sure, she can still be kind of smarmy, but it's like learning and growing, and she seems like she's constantly reverting back to how we first met her. uh, and you're doing that with Death, where it's like, oh, you can't have her, she's mine, and it's like, okay, you're all over the place with some of these characters. Wicked eventually unlock his powers, but uh, and he accepts the fact that Agatha isn't this. He was a kind of fanboying over Agatha, not realizing to his chagrin that she's kind of an asshole. But he unlocked his, lineage powers that he gets from his mom, which, like I said, pretty cool design. And each kind of like, spellcaster, witch, warlock. They keep calling him a witch, but boy witches are called warlocks. I don't call like a girl spellcaster a warlock. I'll call her a witch. It's like, just because he's gay, I don't know if it's because he's gay or not, but it's like, no, he will be called a warlock. He will be classified as a warlock. It's just technical. That is how it is. It's a shame that some of these characters die, because they're actually solid characters. Like I said, better characters than get in the accolade. Honestly, it's just like, at least I know their motivations. I actually have some level of care for these characters. So it kind of sucked that Alice dies. Getting to episode 6, the next trial, pretty much a glorified. I'm not sure if it's because the Wicked's gonna be coming out, or it's just Disney just owning everything. But it's like, they got Agatha dressed as the Wicked Witch, and Wicked as Maleficent, and you got what's her name? Called Drew as like the crap. What's the good white witch that gives the girl in the Wizard of Oz? Shit, like Glinda. Glinda gives the girl her ruby slippers. But you got Call Drew dressed as like Glinda the Good Witch, and Jennifer dressed as has to be Maleficent, who turns into that old crone to give Snow White the apple. And it's like, okay, like, we get it, Disney, you own everything. Like, it's like I didn't find this part charming at all. I thought it was kind of like very hacky. And it's like you're kind of rubbing your noses, like our noses, in effect, like, yeah, like, you see this, we got this, look at how it's showing off how that we own this and the other. It's like, it would have been, the only thing that would have been more annoying if you had like a particular escape room trial where it's centered around Star Wars, and it's like, oh my god. I was like, I thought that was kind of annoying. Like I said, they could have just mixed up the stuff with the with these particular trials. They seem kind of lazy for the most part. So Calder had a great episode last week with her performance, whereas she always seems like she's kind of loco, but it's just her powers allowing her to foresee certain points in past, present, and future. So everything seems to like kind of come full circle in this episode. It's handles very beautifully. So kudos to the actress. She's handling that kind of behavior at an expert level. So she is really, really good in this. Even comes full circle even by the following episode, where she warns Catherine, or it's Agatha. She warns Agatha that when she calls you a coward, duck. I was like, what? And then it comes full circle when Death, battles with Wicked and well, Agatha, and she ducks to avoid death throwing literally the kitchen sink at her. But Wiccan shows up, fully maxed out powers, gives some of it to recharge Agatha so she can like fight back, but she knows she can't. So she embraces death, technically sacrificing herself in order to let Wiccan go free. So, like I said, it's like a really good design of the way they have Aubrey Plaza as death was really good. That's probably like my highlight of this show. It's like that design was, well, I like the green. Green's my favorite color. But yeah, you gotta lean into like the dark robes like you normally see death in Marvel Comics. But the design overall looks phenomenal. It really does. Oh, Wiccan totally Kaiser Sosate himself because it turns out that the Witch's Road was a load of hogwash along with this gimmicky Witch's Road song, which it was totally made up just to gather a cover of witches so Agatha can trick them into getting mad at her and, allowing her to absorb their power once they attack her. And she's been doing that for ages. That's why she earned like that bad reputation. So the Witch's Road is all, made up stuff that, Wiccan came up in his mind via stuff that he saw in his own room. It's totally Kaiser Soze. If you don't know who that is, watch The Usual Suspects, which I probably should make a spoiler review about that because that was a really good movie. Anyway, so just like his mom made up the whole TV show in different eras, Wiccan used his power unknowingly to set up the Witch's Road and trials based off of certain things that he has in his room, like the Wizard of Oz stuff. Yeah, that's pretty much all my notes. All the likes, dislikes throughout the season. Now, Catherine, or at least Agatha, is a spirit with the exact comic book design, the way she normally looks as an old crone all those years until very recently, where Kevin Feige can't stay away from the comic book company and interjecting his points of view instead of leaving things separate. Got Agatha Harkness in the comics looking more like a young Catherine Hahn. And it's like, God, can't you just leave, certain people alone in the comics? Let them be old. They don't all need to be young and hot. You already overplayed yourself with, Aunt May. Just stop already. Because nobody can be old anymore. You got to have them young and virile just to get into some kind of action in the comics or not confuse the audience. It's like, God, things can just be separate. I don't want no hot Aunt May or hot, Agatha Harkness. Just let people be old. Sometimes people get old. It happens. Anyway, the show, if I give it like a grade, I say a solid B plus in certain aspects, and mostly because of the design of death. So it's like an average show. I don't totally hate it. It has some, I have my issues with it as I went through the season, but it's still not as egregious as Acolyte. I'm sorry. I have to use it as like a parameter now. It's like, how, is it reaching Acolyte level or not? So I just give this, I love the atmosphere. The actors, are doing their some good work here. The design of certain characters like Death is astounding. The look of Wiccan's costume is really solid. Oh, almost neglect to mention they brought in Evan Peters again, but he's legit Ralph Boner because he's like, kind of freaking out, kind of like that. He's like a conspiracy theory nut after the whole ordeal that Agatha put him through WandaVision. But it's like, dude, where you been this entire time? Uh, but it's just like, okay, clearly you gonna have to have like a new Quicksilver because you can't cast this guy since you're using him as a legit boner joke yet again. God. But I guess you technically have a, well, no, I'm about to say Quicksilver. No, it's like it's not his brother. I'm thinking an entire different thing, because like Wicked's brother is also a speedster, but I'm trying to conflate the two because you literally got Quicksilver here. Oh God, you're wasting these legacy X-Men characters left and right, aside from Deadpool and Wolverine. But anyway, so yeah, that was pretty much Agatha all along. It's decent. Will I ever return to it? Probably not. And I think this is probably the only season they will have, in all honesty. But now he's on the search for his brother, who you thought it was going to be some kind of end credits, which we never got. I thought they will at least add that at the last episode. So we'll see, like, where the hell is Wiccan's brother? Because clearly his, spirit, he, try to put it somewhere or when another kid dies so he can replace it. So who knows where he's at? Might show up in the next Avengers film. Who knows? They still haven't properly set up who's the new Avengers going forward. We're getting the sense of Young Avengers. They just started announcing showing teaser trailers for like Wonder Man and Daredevil Born Again and a couple other things, which I won't react to until we get like full official trailers. But anyway, that was Agatha all along. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of the show. I will see. I might hop in to play some Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, just play a little bit to show off my vampire deck, because technically it's nearly Halloween. But I won't be streaming on Thursday. That's why I'm trying to get all this stuff out quickly as possible to wrap up my Halloween review month. But I will see you guys, later on tonight. But if not, I'll see you in a couple of days. Take care. Have a happy Halloween. Peace.